Shocking confession behind your back. She is terrified the night air turns heavy like a curtain pulling across a stage, and every sound in the room sharpens into a warning. A message waits at the edge of your attention, trembling with the weight of what it carries. Somewhere close, a confession hangs by a single breath, and the person holding it is terrified. She stands in a small circle of light, fingers shaking, afraid of the shadows she once helped create. Her heart hammers against truth she tried to bury, truth rising anyway like dawn under a locked door. She knows the moment is here, and the fear inside her knows your name. A quiet corridor stretches between what happened and what must be said, and her steps drag against it. Secrets once stitched with whispers begin to split at the seams. She can no longer carry what she hid behind your back. The night remembers everything, and so does your spirit. A hush settles over your path as if the world itself leans in to listen. She feels it too, and the trembling becomes a tide she cannot fight. Type Amen to get blessing 333. A photograph sits on the table where plans used to gather like wolves. Unspoken deals curdled in rooms where your absence was measured and priced. Her confession unfolds beside that photograph, and shame colors every word. She speaks of a meeting that never loved the daylight, a gathering that starved for power. Your story was carved into that table without your permission. She remembers every face, and every face now returns in the echo of her fear. The first thing she says is your name, fragile as glass yet stronger than the lies it cuts through. The second thing she says is that she is sorry. The third thing she says is the part that hurts, because it is true. A cold wind passes the doorway as if the world exhales for her. She admits she watched something that should never have been watched. She admits she agreed to something that should never have been agreed to. Type Amen to get blessing 444. A list existed, and your blessings sat on it like targets. They traced your footsteps, copied your words, and counted your opportunities. They measured the distance between your trust and their greed, and they tried to live inside that space. Her voice breaks at the memory of the last promise she made to herself, the promise to stop before it went too far. The promise shattered the moment a certain offer turned the air metallic. She breathed it in and felt the weight of it settle behind her ribs like a stone. Archangel Michael says your name with the steadiness of a sword held upright. Your spirit reaches for that steadiness like a hand reaching for a railing on a moving train. The moment steadies, and truth begins to land. She admits a key changed hands when your back was turned. She admits a story about you was carried like contraband from mouth to mouth. She admits that the person who planned the worst could not carry it without her silence beside it. Type Amen to get blessing 555. The lights in the room dim, and the hush grows braver. Every object seems to gasp in unison, as if the truth peeled the paper from the walls. The floor remembers the footsteps of those who smiled at you by day and drew maps against you by night. Her hands open as if releasing something alive. She tells you she held the doorway while another slipped through. She tells you she looked away when your name needed someone to face the storm. She shows you a message once hidden in a private folder, a message with your photo set next to a price. Lies were minted into coins there, and each coin was meant to buy a piece of your future. She cannot hold that currency anymore. The confession spills, and with it comes the tremor of a soul that wants to be clean again. Her fear does not vanish, yet it moves aside to let courage breathe. The room understands and turns gently toward you. Type Amen to get blessing 777. She returns the key, and with it the map they drew from your life. She returns a promise she borrowed from your kindness and never paid back. She returns the version of herself that believed betrayal could ever satisfy. The night opens a window, and a new wind enters. The wind smells like rain and iron, like storms that purify the fields. Your spirit recognizes the sound of protection setting its foot down. She speaks of the moment she saw the trap and could not pretend anymore. She describes the way your name felt when it hit the floor, fragile and ringing like a bell underwater. She could taste the truth by then, and it tasted like coming home. Archangel Michael says the hour of reversal has arrived. The tide that dragged your blessings backward begins to turn. The wheel clicks, and destiny remembers which direction belongs to you. Type Amen to get blessing 888. She is terrified not of you, but of what her silence was turning her into. The fear is a teacher tonight, and it writes in ink that cannot be rinsed away. She finally reads every word, then passes the pen to you. Your calm becomes the first miracle of the room. It steadies what still shakes inside her chest. It tells the night that your soul already learned the language of storms. She offers names, places, and times without bargaining for forgiveness. She offers receipts where the plot thought it lived in smoke. She offers the truth the way a lighthouse offers the shore to a battered ship. The weight that lived between your shoulders lifts, not because the past rewrites itself, but because the future refuses the same ink. Your footsteps begin to sound like rightful ownership again. Your breath returns to the size of your chest. Type Amen to get blessing 999. The people who counted against you begin to miscount. Their ledgers blur, and their lines wobble as daylight approaches. Consequences step out from the hallway and take their seats at the table they once reserved for you. She is shaking, but she is finished with the dark. Her apology does not beg, it bows. It places the knives of the past on the floor where their reflections cannot hurt anyone anymore. You do not chase what already chooses you by divine right. You stand where the ground is honest, and honest ground rises to meet your feet. The room breathes relief as if the windows are lungs. She looks at your photograph and finally sees what it always carried. It carried a calling that no rumor could stain. It carried a light that knows how to walk through rooms like this and still remain gold. Type Amen to get blessing 4444. A quiet procession begins inside time itself. One by one, stolen moments step back into your hands. One by one, the seeds you planted under attack sprout with double courage. Your path widens without noise. It widens without spectacle. It widens because integrity is roomy, and it makes room for you now. She promises repair where damage once collected like rust. She promises testimony where secrecy once wore its mask. She promises distance from the circle that once applauded your pain. Your heart does not rush, it recognizes restoration as a deliberate art. You build it like a careful bridge, plank by plank. You walk it not in anger, but in rightful pace. Type Amen to get blessing 5555. The sound of your name begins to change in the mouths that spoke it wrong. It sounds heavier now, too heavy for careless hands. It sounds like a door that shuts on betrayal and opens on favor. She asks for nothing written in gold, only the chance to place the truth where it belongs. She places it gently, then steps back. The room admires the clean line it makes. What was taken from you never truly learned how to leave. It lingered at the edges like loyal light. Tonight it steps forward and finds you again. Your spirit stands taller with every returning piece. Your timeline smooths where it once kinked and caught. Your peace becomes the most expensive thing in the room, and it belongs to you. Type Amen to get blessing 7777. The night yields to a paler edge of sky. The hush breaks into a soft chorus of ordinary sounds, now brave again. The photograph on the table looks different because the future standing over it looks different. She is terrified still, but not of truth anymore. Truth has become her shelter as it is yours. Fear stands outside that shelter and watches through the rain. You hold the room steady with your presence and let the silence speak. The silence says the worst is over. The silence says your name is safe again inside your life. The door opens not to strangers, but to a morning shaped like mercy. The hallway brightens as if it remembers your footsteps. Every window in your destiny unlatches. Type Amen to get blessing 9999. Her confession sits where the table once plotted, and it glows like a lantern set down at last. Your eyes learn the shape of it and call it finished. Your heart learns the lesson of it and calls it strength. The circle that harmed you becomes a circle of absence you do not miss. The work that honors you gathers and waits like a patient river. You step toward it because stepping toward it is what you do. You do not rehearse the darkness, you walk the daylight that answers it. You do not fetch the past, you gather the harvest that outgrew it. You do not carry their fear, you bless the road and carry your crown. The room, now emptied of schemes, fills with something better. It fills with a future that knows your face. It fills with a peace that fits your shoulders and refuses to slip. Type Amen to get blessing 11111. The morning moves across your walls like a soft procession, and the room accepts its light. Every shadow loosens its grip and slips under the furniture as if it never belonged. The air tastes clear, and your name sounds like a vow kept. She wipes the last of the fear from her lips and places her phone on the table, screen unlocked. Threads of messages sit there like abandoned tunnels that no one will walk again. You glance once and know the past has nowhere else to hide. You do not chase anyone into their darkness, you gather yourself into the strength that waited. Calm stands beside you like an old friend finally returned from a long road. The floor beneath you steadies with the ease of ground that remembers its purpose. The photograph that once felt like a target becomes a witness turned toward your favor. It watches the room choose the side of clean truth and stay there. It watches you breathe and decides the weather of the day will adjust to your peace. Type Amen to get blessing 12,121. Her words keep coming, no longer frantic, now deliberate and whole. She names each doorway where your trust was bent and folded. She leaves none of them open behind her. You feel the subtle click of alignment inside your chest. The past no longer calls for attention like a fire, it flickers into ash and quiets. What remains is the sound of your own heartbeat calling you forward. Archangel Michael says the sword is not for anger but for boundary. The line it draws around your life is gentle to you and final to what harmed you. The room feels the circles settle and stop moving. She describes the moment she saw your devotion held up like merchandise. Shame threads through her voice, but truth keeps the stitch steady. You accept the facts while keeping your crown untouched. Type Amen to get blessing 23,232. The day opens its hands and reveals a list of simple tasks that build a future. One by one, you choose what honors you and you do it well. One by one, you refuse what shrinks you and you let it pass. Calls that used to make your chest tighten now sound smaller than their echoes. Strategies once sharpened against your back dull in the light. The people who rehearsed your downfall begin to forget their lines. The first quiet victory arrives in the shape of sleep you truly rest inside. The second arrives as appetite for a life you craft on your terms. The third arrives as laughter that finds you unannounced and stays. Meanwhile, her courage continues, not theatrical, just honest and steady. She sends the evidence to the place where consequences live. She does not look away from the delivery, she signs her name. Type Amen to get blessing 24,242. You do not decorate the pain, you complete the lesson and archive it cleanly. Your spirit files it under wisdom that costs and pays. Your hands turn to the work that loves you back. Habits that kept you smaller loosen like old knots. New rituals take their place with respectful rhythm. Water, light, movement, and words that mean what they say. Messages that once traveled through hush now encounter a wall of silence. Your boundaries are not a debate, they are architecture. The structure stands and the door opens only for those who knock with respect. She tells you where the final copy of the plan was stored. She deletes it while you watch, and something ancient exhales. The room feels larger by the size of the lie removed. Type Amen to get blessing 30,303. Patience returns to your body like warmth after a winter. It does not rush itself, it fills the corners and lingers. You let it choose the tempo of your day. Old conversations lift from your shoulders and float away like letters that have already been answered. Your nervous system remembers how to be a river instead of a siren. Your heart practices softness without losing guard. You step outside, and the street recognizes you as the rightful owner of your name. The sky wears a quiet authority that mirrors yours. Each breath lands where it belongs. Inside, she gathers her belongings with care, not with flight. Her apology remains on the table, not as a chain, but as a marker. You nod once, and the past folds itself neatly. Type Amen to get blessing 31313. A message arrives from someone who once echoed the circle. It carries new posture and measured words. You do not rehearse their story for them, you let them speak and you hold your line. The pathways of your future begin to light up in sequence. What fits your calling glows and stays. What does not fit flickers and fades without ceremony. You tend your world the way a careful gardener tends soil. Little by little, the ground remembers the language of harvest. Green rises where gray once camped. Your name travels differently now, it moves with its own weather. It brushes past gossip and leaves no scent of fuel. It collects only what belongs and keeps it. Type Amen to get blessing 32,323. She pauses by the doorway and looks back once, not to linger but to confirm. She sees you standing in peace and understands her role is complete. She leaves the room without taking any of your light. You lock nothing out of fear, you close what is finished and open what is true. The difference lives in your chest like a new compass. North is not a direction anymore, it is a decision. Archangel Michael says the season of explanation is over. Your proof is the quiet of your progress. Your answer is the sound of your steps. Hours pass, and the softness of ordinary life returns like a promise kept. Your cup meets your hand with the ease of being chosen. Your reflection forgives the storm and keeps the lesson. Type Amen to get blessing 33333. A small letter arrives with your name written clearly. It contains an opportunity that respects your boundaries and your time. You feel the click of alignment again and you say yes. Another door that once ignored you now opens on its hinges without drama. The room beyond it was always yours, the delay was an illusion. You walk in with grace that refuses to shrink for the sake of anyone's comfort. You reorganize your priorities with a kindness that includes yourself. The list is shorter and stronger. The hours obey the order and breathe easier. Evening settles with the careful gold of a promise fulfilled. The walls hold warmth because you decided they would. The night arrives not as a threat but as a blanket. Type Amen to get blessing 34343. The circle that moved against you drifts apart with no audience. Their hands are too full of their own echoes to clutch yours. Their conclusions collapse under the weight of the truth sent to the right places. Your future writes itself in active voice. Your verbs are clean and your nouns stand tall. The sentence of your life keeps its period where it belongs. You speak to the mirror the way you deserved all along. Your voice is the tone setter of the house. The rooms learn the pitch and keep it. She, somewhere under a new sky, decides to continue telling the truth wherever she goes. Redemption is quiet work and she shows up for it. The world answers with a road that holds. Type Amen to get blessing 35353. You walk through the neighborhood with footsteps that bless the ground. People who meet your eyes feel steadier for it. Your presence edits the weather of a space without noise. Plans form that honor your pace and your capacity. No more sprints toward approval that never paid. Only honest distances and sustainable miles. A message pings and you read it without dread. Another thread of repair moves forward smoothly. You add it to the ledger of rightful returns. The doorbell rings and a parcel rests with your full name spelled correctly. Inside is something you purchased for yourself without apology. Permission stays in your own hands and does not travel. Type Amen to get blessing 36363. You organize the evidence of your growth like keepsakes that actually serve. Each one is a tool and a memory. Each one belongs where you can reach it. A memory tries to surface with old teeth and finds no place to bite. Your boundaries are not barbed, they are woven. They breathe, flex, and hold. Music fills the room with a tempo that meets your bloodstream kindly. Your shoulders lower by instinct. The heaviness does not return when the song ends. You pour water and it tastes like relief. You open a window and the air arrives like cooperation. Your body thanks you in a language without noise. Type Amen to get blessing 37373 at night. The stars look routine and miraculous at once. You do not chase meaning, you invite it to sit and it agrees. Silence stays and behaves like a friend who knows the house. Your sleep lands on a mattress that knows your shape. Dreams line up like trains arriving on time. Morning waits without pressure, only invitation. When you wake, the mirror greets you with proof of life continuing well. Your face wears the ease of someone who kept their soul intact. Your day receives you without debt. Archangel Michael says the chapter has turned, not torn. The story keeps your dignity and grows it. The margins are generous and the ink is new. Type Amen to get blessing 38,383 calls come, offers arrive, and the yes inside you chooses precisely. Every selection is a vote for peace that expands, not peace that shrinks. Your calendar learns the difference and blossoms. You revisit a place that once felt hostile and find it quiet. You walk through it with your head up and your breath even. The space recognizes your upgrade and adjusts. The person who once rehearsed harm sees you and lowers their gaze. The performance cannot continue without your participation. You do not clap and the play ends. You return home and the house meets you with grateful floors. The lights seem to remember your steps. The walls hold your voice like a promise. Type Amen to get blessing 39393. The evidence you allowed into daylight continues its work. Systems that needed truth receive it and begin to move. You do not micromanage consequence, you trust its schedule. Friendships that fit your integrity find you easily. Conversations deepen without edge or hunger. Laughter stretches across time and refuses to rush. You invest in tools that amplify your path. Support arrives in forms that align with your standards. The return is not only in money, it is in clarity. Even the air in your closet feels organized. You dress like a declaration of peace. Your shoes learn the rhythm of steady progress. Type Amen to get blessing 40404. On a quiet afternoon, you hold your own hand and it feels complete. The loneliness that once confused your heart learns healthy solitude. Space becomes an ally instead of a corridor. News filters in about the old circle, now disconnected from your story. You receive it without interest and with compassion. Your attention is too valuable to spend on wreckage that does not concern you. A small celebration happens in your kitchen for no reason except that you live here. You cut fruit and it tastes like relief that learned sweetness. The ordinary turns ceremonial just by being respected. You write a short note to yourself and tape it where the light can find it. It reads like permission and promise. It reads like you. Type Amen to get blessing 4141. For the next season waits with open shoulders and sensible hours. You can feel its invitations forming sentences. You answer with presence, not performance. Work aligns with values and skill without extraction. Your energy spends itself and returns multiplied. The end of each day arrives with a clean ledger. At random moments, you realize you are not bracing anymore. You stand, walk, speak, and rest without flinch. Your nervous system keeps the key and uses it wisely. Somewhere, she continues choosing repair over regret. She learns how to hold the mirror without breaking. The world does not punish her honesty, it employs it. Type Amen to get blessing 42424. Your name grows roots in the places you decide to belong. The ground promises not to trade on it. The air promises to carry it accurately. You make plans that include rest as design, not as reward. Your future thanks you in advance. Time cooperates like a respectful partner. The door that once demanded your attention now sits quiet and closed. You do not reopen it to prove strength. You leave it sealed to honor peace. The horizon lifts and widens like lungs. You walk toward it without haste and without fear. Every step votes for the life you keep choosing. Type Amen to get blessing 43434. In the quiet after the turning, your spirit writes a final line for the chapter. It is not a roar, it is a bell. It rings once and keeps echoing in the right directions. You gather your keys and step into your day. Every movement is a sentence that ends with period, not apology. The world meets you with the dignity you have always deserved. What tried to live behind your back no longer lives anywhere near your name. The front of your life is clear and claimed. The light you carry is unbothered and sovereign.